Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. The transfer window is officially closed and I tell you what, I'm happy about it. You know why? Because we can stop reading all of the bullshit headlines about Chelsea want this guy, Chelsea want that guy. The reality is we didn't really want anybody in this January transfer window. We've ended up by offloading a load of players and we have signed a guy called Mathys Amougou. Welcome to Chelsea. Never seen you play before, so I'm not going to sit here and bash you, but unfortunately, a lot of Chelsea fans, I think, are going to look at this transfer and think, well, does this really solve anything for us? Today, I'm going to do a direct comparison between Mathys Amougou, who Chelsea have bought for 15 million euros, Santos and Ugo Chukwu, and we're going to see if this transfer, on face value, was worth it in any kind of way. We're going to round up the rest of deadline day. And we're also going to dissect in a bit more detail the stats and the player ratings from Chelsea 2, West Ham 1, of all of the things that could define our season. The deadline day window and that 90 minutes of football, 3 hours basically of time, from the start of that game to the end of it and when the window closed, that will define Chelsea's season. Did we see enough in that West Ham result to suggest that we can actually go on a good run, sustain a place in the top 4 or top 5 come the end of this season? But I'm aiming for 4th. You can't rely on coefficient whatsoever. It's the wrong way to do it. So, did we do enough? Did we do enough in the transfer window? I think the answer there is no. We're going to prove it today by looking at the player ratings and performances. But first of all, let's just round up exactly what happened for Chelsea Football Club on this January/February transfer deadline day. First of all, João Felix has completed a loan move to AC Milan. Last night, we saw Christopher Nkunku come on, play left wing. Think I'd rather have seen that be João Felix, but Nkunku stays and Felix is gone. 6 months after he signs for Chelsea on a 7-year deal, worth over 130 grand a week. He is now an AC Milan player until the end of the season. There's no obligation to buy. There's no option to buy. So what we can basically confirm from this transfer of Felix to AC Milan is that Maresca didn't really want him. Felix wanted a different move. We shouldn't have bought him for 45 million in the summer just gone. We purely did it to make sure that Atletico Madrid gave us the pure profit for Conor Gallagher. This is all pretty much confirmed now because he's gone 6 months into a 7-year Chelsea contract. If that isn't bad business, then I don't know what is. Yes, AC Milan will be paying a loan fee, but surely this isn't what we're going to become now. We're going to sign these players to loan them out to get important loan fees. This is not a transfer window to be proud of, ladies and gentlemen. We move. Axel Disasi has gone. Axel Disasi will play for Aston Villa for the rest of the season, and Chelsea receive £5 million for the Aston Villa Disasi move. I think this is actually pretty good. I think it was going to be difficult to find a permanent suitor for Disasi for the price that Chelsea wanted, having spent 40 million on this guy a couple of years ago. But Disasi to Aston Villa, I've said this countless times on the channel, I'm not really worried about it strengthening Villa. Disasi is probably the 6th best centre-back at Chelsea, so I don't think him going to Villa is going to be that much of a concern. What I will say is that Emery has got Villa working very well. They're a good side. They're a well-oiled engine. So if anyone is going to improve players, I think Unai Emery could improve Axel Disasi. And then it's good if he's getting football that Chelsea will be able to hopefully sell him in the summer to suitors that come in. Maybe Aston Villa it is. Maybe it's teams in Italy again, France, whatever. But hopefully we can actually get something for Disasi this summer, because the way that he's played at Chelsea is nowhere near the 40 million quid that we spent on the guy. Ben Chilwell is also officially a Crystal Palace player now. I wish absolutely nothing but the best for Chilwell. His comments on Palace were this: Crystal Palace is a club that's going in a great direction. You look at the last few months with the results and how the team's playing, it was a no-brainer to make the decision to come here. I think for Chilwell, he'd have probably gone anywhere as long as he was still getting paid the same money, because he's not been playing football. The man deserves to play. He was a top left-back, fell off a little bit, and then didn't get a sniff at Chelsea, which is kind of the case for a lot of players, really. Chukwuemeka is also gone to Borussia Dortmund. But let's take a little look now at the news about the signing because it was actually announced about 2 minutes into my live stream. Mathys Amougou has just signed his contract at Chelsea, all signed between the clubs, 15 million plus sell-on clause for deal done from Saint Ettiene as French talent can be considered new CFC player. So we did sign someone. So if anybody was like, oh, well, Chelsea didn't make any signings. Remember, we also got Dastan Satpayev, the 16-year-old from Kazakhstan, all right? Now, don't be greedy, Chelsea fans. We actually did make... I can't even say it in any kind of, like, jest and sarcasm. This signing of Mathys Amougou, unfortunately, for these young players, right? When you normally sign for a football club, there's normally a buzz around it. There's normally an excitement. Anything new, there's always optimism. They've not screwed us over yet. They've not put in a bad performance to make us think, oh, he's rubbish, isn't he? Mathys Amougou comes from Saint Ettiene. And to be fair, I feel sorry for him. Because already Chelsea fans are looking at this thinking, hang on a minute. The kid is only 19 years old. Didn't we have a couple of teenagers, almost not teenagers, 20-year-olds, on loan at other clubs? We did. And I'm going to show you now the difference between Mathys Amougou of Saint Ettiene, Andre Santos at Strasbourg, and Leslie Ugochukwu at Chelsea. So, we proceed. We begin. Here we go. This is the stats. 19 starts out of 19 games this season for Santos at Strasbourg, who are outperforming Saint Ettiene, and Amougou has started less than half of those games. He's played about half the minutes that Andre Santos has. Santos has got 8 goals and assists. Amougou's got 0. The XG numbers here, Santos is winning in everything. Progressive carries, progressive passes, Santos winning in absolutely everything. Per 90 minutes, numbers better than Amougou. So what we've got here is we've got a player who's having 24 shots, 7 goals, shot converged, shots on target. Look at this. Amougou is not going to provide us anything going forward from what we can see here. As well as that, you look at these passing percentages, right? Gives the ball away a lot. Attempts passes, gives it away. Less than 10%, less than Andre Santos. In every metric, Santos is outperforming Mathys Amougou in absolutely everything. Shot creating actions, Santos winning everything. Defensive actions, winning everything. Possession stats, winning everything. Ugochukwu, very good with his take-ons there compared to those two. But I wanted to show you guys this because we've made a signing for the now of a player that is not better than an already existing Chelsea player playing in the same league, where if we're doing comparisons between Mathys Amougou and Andre Santos, it's fair, because they're both playing in France, they're both of a very similar age. Amougou's 19, Santos is 20, but Santos is by far the better player. So what we're doing here is we're buying another player again that will probably be at Strasbourg next season, and we've not really done anything to improve the Chelsea squad. That is something that we've looked at all January. We've identified the areas of this squad that clearly needed reinforcements, if not upgrades. January, it's quite often difficult to actually cherry pick and upgrade, get exactly the player that you would want. But have Chelsea strengthened in this January transfer window by signing Mathys Amougou and letting Disasi, Felix, Cassidy, Chilwell, Vega, Chukwuemeka, off the top of my head, those 6 players, even as squad players, do make the Chelsea squad stronger, at least, at bare minimum, if it comes to availability. If Chelsea get injuries, we're screwed. We've got 1 fit left back now in the squad. Marc Cucurella, something happens to him, we're clutching at straws again. Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo, we're going to go into their performances in that West Ham win in a moment because they were both excellent, but something happens to them. What do we have to fill in? We have Mathys Amougou, who's had a pretty average season at Saint Ettiene, who are going to get relegated potentially in France. So to conclude the January transfer window, did Chelsea's squad improve? No. Did we sign the players in the positions we needed to? No. Has the squad got smaller and harder for Maresca to pick the right team week on week? Yes. Did we offload players that probably could have offered us something? Yes. And did we still end up with players at the club who were desperate to leave, who we're not sure if we're going to be able to get the most out of them still? Nkunku. Yes. So all in all, this is a 1 out of 10 transfer window. And the only reason I give it a 1 out of 10, which is about as bad as you can get, is because we did manage to offload Axel Disasi and we somehow got some kind of financial package in order for that to go through. 5 million quid for Disasi. The bloke is shown he's worth about 2 at most. So, yeah, this is a failure of a transfer window. And when we start to look now at Chelsea's performance against West Ham, we've got to go through some of the players that featured. Mark Guiu, Christopher Nkunku, Nicholas Jackson. There's a lot of question marks here. And it is going to be a moment that defines our season. The fact that this transfer window has been a 1 out of 10, in my book, that is going to be a potential problem. However, what we saw against West Ham suggests that the actual first-team players at Chelsea could well still be good enough to get us the top 4. The big question is it enough? Let's go into it now. Gonna sit back in my chair a little bit. Relax. Get yourself a drink if you haven't already. Enjoy the show. Let's take a little look then at the overall player performances from Chelsea last night. The attack momentum charts. Always find this quite interesting. It's looking a bit like every single Chelsea home game this season. Start pretty well. Have a little spell for the away side. Continue pretty well. Look where the goal comes. Look at this. Nothing on for West Ham whatsoever. And then the second half, from the substitutions, look at that. Chelsea dominance. We've got to give credit to Enzo Maresca, okay? For the way that we did take control of that second half. And we improved massively with the substitutions. But let's go back here. Average ratings of the team, 7.02. It's decent. It's better than West Ham. Kudus gets a 5.6 for West Ham. I think that is so unfair. I thought he was a real thorn in Chelsea's side. Palmer gets an 8. Man of the match from him. But if we take a look, first of all, at Philip Jorgensen, as you can see, nice little red dot on the goal, which is not always the case for Sanchez because he lingers around here sometimes, so you can see the cursor. Well done, Philip Jorgensen. Solid performance. Couldn't do much about the goal. And now we've got to make sure that we see the same again from Enzo Maresca. Goals prevented minus 0.39. Saves from inside the box 3. 39 touches of the ball. 76% pass accuracy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an outright improvement on what we have seen all season, percentage-wise, from Robert Sanchez. Not all season, but the majority of it, just so I can make sure I get some kind of facts right. Long ball accuracy, only 1 out of 8, which still isn't great, but at least with the short passes, it was good from Jorgensen. Didn't have much to do, but what he had to do, he dealt with perfectly fine. I want to also take a look here at Enzo Fernandez. He's got a 6.8 rating, probably because of the yellow. But look at this. Enzo was absolutely everywhere. It was something that the naked eye could tell you. You could see that he was working hard. But this heat map here shows you, predominantly over the right-hand side, an XG of 0.34. Probably should have scored for Neto's goal. Accurate pass is 74%. But I think we saw Enzo Fernandez taking a more creative role in the midfield for Chelsea because Caicedo was just a block in front of that back line. If we take a look at Caicedo here specifically, again, everywhere. 71 touches, 98% pass accuracy, which is unbelievable. 3 out of 3 long balls, excellent. More than 50% of his ground duels won. 1 is only aerial as well. Gave the ball away twice, 3 fouls. But again, it's Caicedo, man. This guy, every single game, you can rely on him to put in a solid performance. It was a 7.5 out of 10. And again, I think we've got to address here that when you look at those two performances from both Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez in the middle for Chelsea, and if you look at the average positions, like these guys absolutely covering so much ground for Chelsea. They were excellent, both Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. But I think we've got to also bring it back here to this Mathys Amougou signing. We see a massive quality drop when either Caicedo or Enzo come out of the team. The backups now, until Lavia is fit, which is like an indefinite story, is Amougou and Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. You don't have the creativity in there. Not sure you've got the legs. Apparently, Mathys Amougou is kind of like an engine room kind of player. It's waffle until I see him play for Chelsea. And maybe we see some minutes at the weekend against Brighton in the FA Cup. But that's not going to be easy either. So what we really need to talk about here is Nicholas Jackson. Because once again, it's an early substitution for Jackson. It looked as though he might have had a hamstring injury in the first half, but he substituted off in the 52nd minute for Mark Guiu, who comes on. But look at this. This is worrying for Jackson. XG in 52 minutes of 0.05. Not a single shot on target again. 73% pass accuracy. Only 18 touches of the ball. This is telling us that Nicholas Jackson is non-existent right now in the Chelsea team. It's one issue if you're not scoring goals. The second issue is that Nicholas Jackson, in his credit and defence, has got really good build-up play, can hold up the ball well, can involve other players. But if you're not even doing that, mate, you shouldn't be on the pitch. And that is why we've got to give massive credit to Enzo Maresca for actually changing it. If we bring up the stats here from Mark Guiu, and look, he played 38 minutes, but he didn't get as many touches as Jackson. He wasn't really effective, but at the same time, he won his duel. Mark Guiu, I don't expect anything from Mark Guiu. And this is why I wanted to talk about this game and how it is defining for Chelsea. Because when you bring Mark Guiu on up front, as much as I really like him, I love the energy he brings, I love the effort he puts in, he's not a better striker, I don't think, yet than Nicholas Jackson. And that's saying something when I'm talking about a striker that ain't scored in 8 matches. So Chelsea didn't address this in the transfer window, and we should have done. And whether or not Nicholas Jackson is injured or not is a different story. But what is a massively telling story is Christopher Nkunku coming off the bench with 30 minutes to go. And you can see from Nkunku's heat map, he's predominantly playing over on that left-hand side. Mark Guiu came on as the striker, but we're not seeing much creativity here from Nkunku. It was a very passive performance. He's not been playing much football. 33 touches of the ball says that he was kind of prominent in keeping possession for Chelsea. Only wins 1 out of his 4 aerials. Gave the ball away 7 times, and it felt like that. When you watched Nkunku out there in the second half against West Ham, it felt like a player that doesn't have minutes under his belt. Maybe it's going to take him some time to kind of establish and just accept. Nkunku's got to just accept now that he is a Chelsea player till the end of the season. Yes, he didn't get his move. Yes, he wanted his move. Didn't want a loan. Wanted something permanent. Bayern were there. Chelsea priced him out of the move. We got rid of Felix, which meant we couldn't get rid of Nkunku. So now, are we going to be seeing Christopher Nkunku playing out here on the left wing? If that's the case, I think he's ineffective in that position. I think it's a waste. But at the same time, we also should probably talk a little bit about Cole Palmer, because it wasn't Palmer's best game, but you can see here he was absolutely everywhere. And we haven't spoken yet about Pedro Neto. We really need to talk about him. But when it comes to Palmer, he was influential enough. He was getting in the right places, getting shots away. Brilliant free kick, brilliant save from Areola. Had another shot just after that as well. But I think a key player that made such a difference for Chelsea was Pedro Neto. Gets a 7.3 rating, as you can see here. But Neto on the right-hand side. We saw Noni Madueke come off a little bit later. Neto actually came on for Sancho, which kind of changed the shape for Chelsea. And that is exactly what helped us. It wasn't just Neto's energy that wins Chelsea the game or makes the comeback even possible. I actually read somewhere that this was our first win from being behind at Stamford Bridge at half-time since December 2013. I'm not sure if that's fully accurate or not. I just was flicking through the feed earlier and I saw that. And if so, that's mental. But Pedro Neto brought the energy to this Chelsea side. Got himself a goal from an XG of 0.18. This is why XG sometimes is just a bit nonsense. 28 touches, 75% pass accuracy. He's trying to cross the ball in the box, trying to make long balls as well. He made one really nice long ball. But positionally, Neto was putting in a shift for the team. He did more than Noni Madueke did in the first half. And he was getting into those dominant positions, getting himself in the box as well. Ironically, he kind of did everything for the first goal. He crossed it in the box to get us into that position. He was looking for Cucurella. It fell to Enzo Fernandez. Shot was well blocked. Neto following up that cross. It's direct. When people talk about direct players, it doesn't just mean you see a man, you run at him, you beat him, you take him on. That's what we've not really been doing successfully in the last couple of games. If we look at the player ratings for Sancho, 6.7, Noni with a 7. If we compare Noni positionally, very much out on that wide side, Whereas Pedro Neto coming inside a little bit more, actually beating his man, actually getting into more dangerous positions. If you see my cursor, that is a more dangerous area than that. When you think about the height that West Ham have in their team with the likes of Kilman, Kufal, Souček, Irving, you know, those players are going to win those aerials if we're crossing it into the box. So Neto being in that inside pocket a little bit more, with Palmer being happy to move over towards the right a little bit more at the end of the game, and also on the left too. That was absolutely key for Chelsea. And the reason I say maybe we did see enough in this victory against West Ham is because of that effort that we showed. The ability to change the game early is on the manager, Enzo Maresca. Massive credit needs to be given to Maresca for the way that he saw that things weren't working, and he was willing to make the changes early to make the difference for Chelsea. I'm glad he hooked off Nicholas Jackson for yet another stinker. I'm glad it was Guiu that came on. But the fact that Guiu didn't do much either when he came on illustrates the point about Chelsea needing a striker in this window. Philip Jorgensen did well enough. Didn't see much of him to be able to say, yep, he's an upgrade, but he definitely was an upgrade on Sanchez, for sure. But the problem with this Chelsea team now, if we take a look at the players that actually came on, Neto made a difference. Guiu, it's nice to at least have a striker to bring on. Gusto, I thought, made a difference too. He was a lot more attacking to get us into more positions, to allow Neto to come inside a bit more and be more of a threat down the right. Reece just doesn't have the legs at the minute, not going to lie to you. Nkunku didn't really do much, but got on the ball a lot. Chalobah comes on at the end. Oh, what we got here? What we got here? It's all loaded back up again. But when you look at the other players, Sanchez, nope. Achampong, fair enough, he's in the squad. Dewsbury Hall and Tyreek George. There is very few options that Chelsea have now. The reality here is with these players, Fofana, Lavia, Mudryk, Badiashile, all out. None of them are going to be back soon, by the way. Lavia at least another month. Mudryk, who knows, maybe never again. For Chelsea, you see lots of injuries also for West Ham. Key players for them too. It wasn't the most convincing performance, but the nature of the comeback in a London derby is a big moment for Chelsea. Maresca celebrating at the end. He knows that he is seen in a very positive light after this game, because it was the changes at the times of the changes that changed the game for Chelsea. Potter had it worked out. Camp a load of players behind the goal, make Kudus, Bowen do all of the running, take the chance when it comes, snatch a goal, defend. They were doing great with that, and it was the shape change and the substitutions that allowed Chelsea to get back in this match and win it. So, again, bringing up the starting 11. There is enough quality in this 11 for Chelsea to win enough matches to finish in the top 4. It is this that is a concern for me. Moving forward, Neto's got himself a start at Brighton next week, 100%, particularly when you look at the way that Brighton were just beyond atrocious at Forest. Forest were incredible, by the way. 7-0 Nottingham Forest on Saturday. Phenomenal. Underspoken about win as well for Forest. But Chelsea, Neto's got to play. Sancho, I don't think he was bad. I think 6.7 is unfair, but again, it's end product. It's finishing in the final third. It's crossing at the right time, passing at the right moment. Wasn't there. Noni, pretty much non-existent the whole time. And Neto did so well. I think Nkunku, I think we're going to see Christopher Nkunku start over Nicholas Jackson. I think Jackson now, just take him out the team for a game. Let Nkunku try as a striker. Bring Jackson off the bench if we have to change it. But look, Christopher Nkunku out there on the left wing, I'm not a fan of it. Felix would have done a better job on the left wing. Nkunku gave the ball away 7 times. So I do think Maresca might have to try and see if we can play Nkunku through the middle. It's not ideal. That's what we've learnt from this game. We've still got Nkunku, and where does he fit? We've still got a misfiring Jackson, not fitting right now, and Mark Guiu, not much difference off the bench either. So what we learnt from this game really is that the transfer window really was a 1 out of 10. We didn't find solutions to key issues in the squad. And yes, we've got a good starting 11. Yes, there are really good players in this team. And yes, we showed the fight that we can come back and we can do something different. Credit to Maresca. Will we see it enough between now and the end of the season? I honestly think, to confirm why this was such a definitive 3 hours of time, the Chelsea-West Ham game and the end of the window, and not really anything coming in, it's going to be all down to who stays fit. Predominantly the midfield, Caicedo and Enzo. If they stay fit, I think we can get top 4. I do. If they don't, what can Maresca do? He's not got the tools at his disposal. He didn't get backed enough in the window. It's not his fault. And I'm going to say that specifically because today, or yesterday, sorry, he did do all of the right things. Cannot be critiqued. Changed the game with the timings of the substitutions. Well done. He had to. It's needed. So we didn't see the stubborn Maresca. We saw changes. Excellent. Credit to the manager. Shame on the board for making it so that the players he can call off the bench, we're threadbare again. Let me know your full thoughts on Chelsea's win against West Ham United. Later on today, there will be another video with the big dog. We're trying to do some more collabs. We had the Joey video last week that you guys loved. And I thought next week we got to get the big dog on. So Josh Aveste will be on the channel with me either tomorrow morning or later on today. Thank you guys for watching this breakdown and the roundup of the transfer news. Deadline day is done. No more transfer talk, I don't think, for a while at least. So stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe if you are new. Check out Spotify as well, because if you don't have time to watch the videos, I'm trying to upload as many of them as I can to Spotify right now for audio. So if you'd rather do that, you can do that. Link down below. Thank you guys for watching. Come on, you Blues.